Hi guys, welcome back to the James Bond show with Krazy Kajeevie, the bad boy of James Bond with no fears, limits or substitutes is back, and I have the one, the only, 00 Scooby is back, guys. I promise you he would be back. And quickly before we get into this video, I'm going to bring him over, just gently. I'm going to get him to say hello to you all. He is back, and as you can see, guys, that is where he had an operation and a nasty lump was removed, but he's doing good and he's back on the James Bond show. And thank you everyone for your well wishes for 00 Scooby. Hey Scooby, I'm going to see if I can get him to do a trick, but I think he's a little tired. High five, high five. When he's very playful, oh my goodness, he loves doing high fives. High five, high five. Okay, he's giving me the low five, so we'll let him rest up. Okay guys, so what are we doing? This is my top 007 ways to reboot James Bond. And I'm talking rebooting James Bond franchise, the 007 franchise, not your passion for James Bond, but how the producers can give us James Bond films that we want. Scooby's just decided to check out the... He just growled at Gobinda. He growled at my fake Gobinda. Have you not seen Gobinda? He's growling at Gobinda. This is awesome. It's alright, Bubba. It's alright, little Bob. He is, seriously. This is the most awesome thing I've ever seen. Alright, come on, stop growling at Gobinda. He knows a villain. He knows a villain when he sees one. Wait. Alright, come on, focus here. Don't jump on the table. Alright, hopefully he'll settle down. If he sees the clown Roger Moore over there from Octopussy, things could get nuts. He's growling at it. Watch this, guys, watch this. Who's that? Get stranger. You little racist, don't you like Indian men? Don't you like Indian people? Nasty little racist. I apologise to all my Indian friends. Okay guys, I also want to say thank you to the new subscribers to the channel. I've come back. I'm really back into rebooting this channel and putting my passion into it because I think I got busy. I got busy with this little fella, and I also, I think there was just so much Bond overkill. You know, there was so much saturation of No Time to Die and fearing about the franchise and the series and during the pandemic and how the film was put back. And once we got it, I think we kind of didn't know what to do with it. I don't think a lot of us saw No Time to Die as many times as we would see it, and because it's a massive long film. And then a lot of us did get hit with things we didn't like about it, or what we didn't like about the James Bond franchise, and then we just had to have time away from it. But I'm back with James Bond, and actually what I'm going to do after I upload this video, guys, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch a Bond film. Now, I did promise you guys that I would be doing a dissecting the directing video. Now, I haven't done that yet, but I spent about an hour and a half today to 2 hours of research of looking at, all through YouTube, great James Bond scenes that I want to dissect, and I couldn't figure out what scene to do. So please, guys, do me a favour. In the comment section below, write down a scene that you want me to dissect from a directing, since I'm a former filmmaker and a natural filmmaker and a bloody good one too. Tell me what you want me to dissect, and I will go through, a certain scene, and I'll talk about lighting, shot composition, how I think the director would have approached the scene with the actors, etc., etc. I do like to focus more on shot composition because even when dialogue isn't being spoken, a film should speak to you just through the imagery or through the actor conveying emotions and feelings through their eyes and stuff like that. But this video is about 007, so 7 ways to reboot the James Bond franchise. Now, some are going to seem a little bit obvious, but they're so important. So I do also have some extras at the end. So when I go through my 007 reason, I'm going to give some other added bonus extras also. Okay, so number one way to reboot I'm still laughing at him, to reboot the James Bond franchise. Number one is, I'm not mucking about here, cast Aidan Turner as James Bond. Cast him from the outset. Now, Barbara Broccoli recently said, oh, they haven't cast a Bond because we don't know what angle to go in, what direction to go in, blah, 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 because we're going to, it's going to be a complete reinvention. You don't need to do that. If you cast an actor who, and this is going to lead into my second point, my number 2 point, and you'll see where I'm going with that a bit later. But if you cast an actor like Aidan Turner that embodies and can really embody an 80s style James Bond in Timothy Dalton, that is the kind of Bond that comes from the novels. And that's what the franchise needs. So start with Aidan Turner. He's still young enough. I believe he's like 38. Make a Bond film, even if it's every 3 years, he'll be fine until he's, a bit past 50 or whatever. He's young looking, he's fit, he's healthy. He's a strong actor. I didn't used to think he was the strongest actor, but he's gotten a lot better. He's got an X factor about him that the Richard Maddens don't have. Richard Madden looks like a plumber. Tom Hardy looks like an electrician. I know Tom Hardy's a great actor, but he's not James Bond. Idris Elba and any black actor should not be considered, same as any Indian actor or any Mexican actor or any Swedish actor. Whoever should not be considered. This needs to be a white, British, heterosexual character, and I think Aidan Turner, even though he's Irish, I think he's perfect to be James Bond, and he'll be able to do a bit of the humour, but not too far with it, and he can do the action, the broodiness, the Flemingness. So start off with Aidan Turner. Once you start off with Aidan Turner, you're going to think, oh, Dalton, oh, Fleming, and that has to be your starting point. Save all the auditions, save all the screen tests and all that garbage. Get Aidan Turner in first, screen test him, get him to do the traditional From Russia with Love 1 and a few others, and cast that man as James Bond. Now, to the Henry Cavill fans, I like Henry Cavill. I think out of all the actors, I think he's a wonderful guy. He seems like a great guy in the interviews. He's too big, he's too bulky, he's too famous now, and I don't know, he's even starting to look a little bit older in the face, and I don't think we need Henry Cavill as James Bond. Yeah, he will be looked at as the actor that, that was born to play Bond but never got to do it. Well, maybe other producers out there can start a different franchise, which I reckon a lot of white hetero-patriarchy fans like myself would love, where he's a tough, hard-ass agent. And another producing team should start that kind of franchise, especially if Eon aren't going to honour the James Bond that we all love, because they certainly haven't been doing that. Okay, so that is my number 1 point. Cast Aidan Turner. Number 2, go back to 80s style James Bond. And I've got here written in here, especially Dalton style, and also what we really need to do with this 80s style, I think, is real action. So go back to the fantastical stunts, okay? Lose CGI as much as possible. Lose the CGI bullshit. And go hardcore 80s style when James Bond's running on top of a train, right? When he's hanging off a train. When Dalton or Dalton's stunt double is skiing behind a plane, hanging from a plane. Go back to that. Also, if you look at Octopussy, which I think unfairly gets bagged, which is just completely beyond me. What fans do, or lukewarm fans do, it's more the lukewarm fans, because the real James Bond fans understand and know the James Bond films better than the average lukewarm fan, is that there's only a couple of silly moments, be it in View to a Kill, Octopussy, even For Your Eyes Only, and The Living Daylights as well, and License to Kill, and then people go, oh, that film's silly, or that film's stupid, or that's cheesy 80 films. And it's complete bullshit, and it's lazy commentary by people. If you take out in Octopussy, if you take out the sit, and if you take out the Tarzan yell, there's not a whole huge amount of stupid humour. You can have situational humour, like Bond gets into the back of the horse cart thing, the thing comes up, and the mini jump jet comes out, and you look at that and go, yeah, that's great visual humour. And I think they need to bring that kind of humour back. I also think the big grand sets, the beautiful production design, especially Peter Lamont, like he did the Octopussy bed. Fantastic set design for Octopussy. A View to a Kill, the mine and all that, where Zoran kills people. You know, that's very much James Bond as well. And we need to get back those, and they started to do it in No Time to Die, those kind of fantastical Bond villains. We need to bring them back. But what the 80s films had under director John Glenn, they had a real grit. They had a real grit about them, a hardness about them with a little bits of humour. So Bond needs to get back to that grit. But what they had, the 80s films, they never lost the tropes. They still had all the tropes. So the Bond theme, which I'm going to talk about a little later. The Bond theme, ordering the martinis, the hot women, the scantily clad women, the beautiful locations, the action, it was all there. Where in this Barbara Broccoli, Daniel Craig era, so many of those tropes were stripped away, almost to the point, especially with Quantum of Solace, if they took Bond, a pretend Bond, and M out of that film, you would not know it's a James Bond film. Because they weren't playing the Bond theme, rarely ever. There was no Bond theme. There wasn't Bond, wearing great classy clothes and suits and that. I think that was, kept to a bit of a minimum, especially in Quantum of Solace. Yes, he was in the tuxedo when he went to the big opera thing, but, So that's what I think they need to do. They need to go back to that gritty 80s style, but keep bits of humour in there and keep all the tropes. So my number 3, guys. Number 3. Ways to reboot 007 is recast M, Moneypenny and Q. Now, I would love in this video to have my perfect casting for you. If you guys have an idea who would be a great M, a great Moneypenny, a great Q, let me know. But what I think they need to do, when you really look at it, M in No Time to Die, he was a mass murderer. That was not Ian Fleming's M. That was not the M that we all love. You can't even put that M, compare him to Bernard Lee. And I actually love the idea of Ray Fiennes becoming M. And I celebrated. One of the only things I liked at the end of Skyfall was in Skyfall, was at the end when, you discover Mallory is now M. And he's like, ready to get back to work 007. And I'm like, yes, get rid of female M. She was so annoying, belligerent, nonsensical. And she's Dame Judi Dench is my all-time favourite female actress. I thought beyond After Goldeneye, she was a terrible M, and it wasn't all her fault. It was because the writing was bad and they tried to overuse her because she was Judi Dench. So recast M. He's too old now, but I think the actor that would have been the greatest M ever, and they should have cast him back in 95, Anthony Hopkins. Sir Anthony Hopkins. He's now 83, so he's too old, but he would have been a brilliant M. I would, if you were going to risk a little bit of danger here, and it could be a bit dangerous, because he is a former James Bond, I would cast Timothy Dalton. I would seriously look at casting Timothy Dalton as M. Maybe put a full hairpiece on him or something and say, look, what we want you to do, Tim, is re-embody Bernard Lee. Basically, you're playing Bernard Lee. Put makeup on him, the whole lot, and give him a go. He may not want to do it, I don't know, but you need an actor with gravitas. Don't go for that big famous actor that's in every film. Now, even though Dalton's famous, he's not in every film. If you can find a British elderly 60s plus stage actor that barely anyone knows who has that gravitas like Bernard Lee did, then go for that. Also with Moneypenny, I'm sorry, but James Bond, it's Black Felix Leiter, Black 007 Nomi, Black Moneypenny. Forget the racial casting. Just cast the best actress for the role. And go for a no-name. You don't need Naomi Harris. You don't need to pay this big money. This also will keep the budget down, okay? With Q, this is my number one thing with Q, is go back to an older Q. Bring back more gadgets. We love the gadgets, right? You don't have to go over silly with them, but bring back the gadgets and bring back older Q. Bring in young Aidan Turner and then have him matched up against an older guy just making the gadgets. And don't make Q the tech wizard anymore. Forget that. That can be Tanner maybe. That can be other people within the office if you really need that. But remember, we're going back to that 80s style Bond as well, as in point number 2 here. So make Q an older, fuddy-duddy, you know, kind of like, go back to that Desmond Llewellyn kind of Q. I think a good choice, potentially even a Rowan Atkinson maybe, or just, again, go to an old crusty British stage actor that we don't really know. And, you know, where they've got that crusty style about them, or they can be that kind of cantankerous old guy. Bring that back. Forget young Q. Also, I'm sorry, again, stop shoving social, gender, LGBT politics into James Bond. We don't want it. Go back to Ian Fleming. So no gay Q, just make him an old straight guy who's, you know, and we don't need to know about his private life. So that's what I would do. That's point 3. Point 4 is cut the budgets and runtime. This is just a natural. If you cut the budgets, right, you cut the run times. You're not filming as much, you're going to cut the run times. If you cut the run times, you're going to cut the budget because you don't have to film as much. We don't need 2.5 hour epic Bond films. I mean, the Bond film that's considered probably the greatest of all time is Goldfinger. It's a 109-minute film. I would not go over 125 minutes. That 125 to 130 minutes is perfect. Kind of like your For Your Eyes Only, maybe even your Live and Let Dies, that kind of runtime. Don't go over. Try and stick within under 125 minutes. And with the budgets, cut them down, and that way you're forced to stay more story focused, character focused. You look at classic scenes like Goldfinger. He's just got a pigeon duck on top of his head. He comes up under the water. Classic! What does that cost? $10 to get the plastic duck? He jumps over a wall, kicks a guy in the face, blows up a thing. Or before he comes back over the wall, when he comes back over the wall, unzips. He's got a tuxedo there. Yes! Even in Casino Royale. He's in that, boom, in the toilet, boom, 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 in the pre-title sequence, in that fight with that guy, kills him, shoots Jordan in the head. Wow! You know, probably that is one of the greatest James Bond pre-title sequences and memorable scenes of all time. And then another incredible memorable scene, probably the most of ever. Sean Connery, Dr. No, in the casino. Sean Connery, where he shoots Professor Dent. Keep it simple, stupid. It's character. It's edgy. You don't need the massive action scenes to make a great James Bond film. Sure, it's great to throw in maybe 2 or 3 big set pieces, but they can be spread out with simple, great, story-driven mini action pieces or character pieces. So that's my number 4 there, guys. Number 5 is cut the political correctness out. Make the films for fans. So number 5, sorry guys, number 5 is cut the political correctness out. Make the James Bond film for the fans. So particularly I've written here, bring back the misogyny. That's what Bond is. That's what part of what keeps him alive. And it's a great character arc. You know, and he's not always going to get it right. And he's not always going to treat women right. But that gives him an opportunity to turn it around as well. And then realize, okay, maybe I haven't done the right thing here. And he can turn that around. But keep the toughness. Keep the misogyny. Also bring back, within this section here, the political correctness. Bring back the Bond babes. Stop. And with the media, stop lecturing Bond fans and people in the media about Me Too movement, political correctness, and Bond this, and Bond can't do this anymore. Bullshit. I'll tell you why it's all bullshit. Because if everyone's honest, even a few little Me Too Bond channels out there, people that are a little bit too lefty for me, if you sit down and you watch those classic James Bond films from Dr. No, especially to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, even up to Diamonds Are Forever, and then the Roger Moore films that are very sexist, they are the best entertainment. They are the best films. They are fun and they're cheeky. Bring back the sexism, the misogyny, the hot babes, because women like seeing it too. They find it funny. Not everyone is so politically correct. And this is about knowing your audience. Your audience is not the Me Too movement. It's not the Black Lives Matter movement. That is not James Bond Eon Productions audience. Your audience is the older people that read the books, that then took their sons, and then their sons had kids, and now you've got 3 generations, and those 3 generations of granddad, dad, and grandkid can go to the cinema and watch James Bond. That's what you need to do. We need to get rid of the political correctness and do not make political statements, Barbara Broccoli, about Me Too and Black Lives Matter, and don't come out and sell out Ian Fleming's James Bond by saying James Bond needs to stay British, but he can be any race. No, that is not British, and that is erasing. That is erasing the history of Ian Fleming's James Bond, and also what Cubby and Harry did, and what you guys have done as well. Point 6, guys. Bring back, so this point 6, bring back David Arnold. Bring back classic James Bond score music, and David Arnold, other than John Barry, David Arnold is the best. I don't know what happened, why he's not being used by Eon Productions. It makes no sense. Now, he was at this event recently for Barbara Broccoli when they got an award and all that, and when she said these statements about being 2 years away from even shooting a new Bond film, David Arnold was there, so obviously the relationship's okay. Bring David Arnold back. And bring back the James Bond theme. Let it rip, let it play, okay? And create sounds, create themes for characters in the Bond films like John Barry used to do. Not all this kind of genetic stuff. So bring back David Arnold. Point 7, guys, the final point. Okay, this is pretty obvious, but it's so important. That's why it's at my number 7, okay? Use Ian Fleming at every turn. So what I mean by use Ian Fleming at every turn, use how he set up James Bond in the novels and the early Bond films, and go back to Ian Fleming. Now, the number one thing that Albert R. Broccoli said to his daughter Barbara was, go back to the books. Go back to Ian Fleming. And with that, Black Lives Matter, Me Too, sexism, it doesn't exist in that world. Remove it. It doesn't matter what the lefty guy says who's, living in his mother's basement and he's there with his half purple, half green hair, or some chick that's, the size of an inflated Big Mac, and she's got purple hair, green hair, whatever, and wearing a weird pink tutu with Ugg boots on. Who cares? That's not your audience. They may jump online and write a little article, but then if you go to the actual James Bond channels and groups, most of them are people like me who want that traditional James Bond. So definitely go back to Ian Fleming. Also, bring back Fleming characters. Now, I have done this through the Daniel Craig era, which has been really cool. Keep the Tanner. I like Tanner. You're going to have to recast Rory Kinnear. Just get rid of anything Daniel Craig related, but keep those characters. I would even bring into it, who we've never seen, I would bring in James Bond's secretary, because they're all they're book tropes, and bring those book kind of tropes into film tropes. So that's what I'll do. Go back to Ian Fleming at every turn, and that includes keeping James Bond, even though we can bring in a little bit of humour, keep Ian Fleming's James Bond as a ruthless bastard. And that encapsulates so much within that. Now, my extra mention, guys, my extra mentions are bring back Lotus. Now, I'm not saying bring back the Lotus Esprit, though I would love to see that happen, but bring back a Lotus car. Why not? And stop using the DB5. Let the DB5, God bless it, let the DB5 rest for a while. Bring back the Lotus. Also, humour, bring back the humour, bit of edgy humour, bit of sexual fun humour. Keep the humour there. And there was some really, really good humour over especially the last 2 James Bond films. No more falling in love. Stop having James Bond falling in love with every girl that looks at him, okay? That is not the Bond that we love. If a new Bond actor comes along and he kind of falls in love, or he likes a girl, great, maybe in one film. But what happens is they know he can't marry her, right, unless it's Daniel Craig era, and so they end up killing the girl. And what happens? Then we're going to end up in a revenge plot. And leading into that, no more James Bond going rogue. No more Bond going rogue. Have James Bond complete a mini-mission in the PTS, right, just like the classics. Sometimes a separate story like in Octopussy and Goldfinger would be great, okay? And then have James Bond meet up with him, get his case, get his, you know, what he's doing. Then he goes and sees Q, gets his gadgets, and he goes off into the world. And we go with him and we live through him going through these incredible adventures and leave Moneypenny, Q, M at home. We see them near the start of the film and we don't want to see them again. Maybe a little bit spread out like they used to do in the old films, but stop having M have frequent flyer points traveling all over the world to every little different bit. It's not needed. So guys, that's my 007 points with extra parts. Let me know in the comment section what you think of these parts. Please drop a like on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your comment. And equally, if you can share on Facebook or Twitter or whatever you're on, that would be really awesome, and get this channel out there. I'd love to get to, it's going to be tough to do, but I'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And yes, of course, let me know what you guys would do. Thank you for joining us in this session. I'm going to put my thinking cap on and try and work out what Bond scene I can do in dissecting the directing. Let me know in the comments section below what scene you'd like me to dissect. And thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time. Keep on bonding and say hi to your mum for me. See ya! You racist!